Hello, a very good evening to you. Welcome to ITV News and to Friday night's calendar.
And here are tonight's main stories.
Celebrating the life of a special little girl, a town remembers Beau, who captured hearts of so many and who's now raised thousands for charity.
What do you think she would have thought of today?
She would have thought of thank you everyone. I really loved you for doing this for me.
We'll have more on an emotional send-off and the legacy she has left.
Also tonight, a family's plea to catch a killer.
Someone knows something. It's just that right bit of information that we need to get.
Adam Chadwick was murdered in Leeds 15 years ago in a case of mistaken identity. His parents remain desperate for answers.
Rob Burrows' father calls on the government to release all of the £50 million it promised for MND research.
The Rhinos take on the Giants in a special MND awareness game later, but Jeff told me earlier it's time the government step up to the plate when it comes to funding.
We need it now. There's so many breakthroughs on there that just need that extra push over the finishing line, and we've got some effective treatments.
And why this West Yorkshire team is getting ready for Champions League football as it helps to grow the grassroots game like never before.
When we set up this club 6 years ago, we never thought we would get to this position so fast.
A very good evening to you. First tonight, the parents of a murdered father from Leeds have made a renewed appeal for information that they hope will finally lead to their son's killer being caught.
Tomorrow marks 15 years since Adam Chadwick was murdered while visiting his sister's home in Hare Hills.
His parents, Martin and Jackie, say that not knowing who killed their son has meant years of focusing on how he died when all they want to do is remember who he was. Adam Fowler reports.
It's 15 years since a woman and 3 men came to an address in Hare Hills in Leeds and fatally shot 20-year-old Adam Chadwick. He'd been celebrating his daughter's 3rd birthday just the day before. Since then, there's been frustratingly little progress in the search for Adam's killers, and it's left his parents with years of unanswered questions.
Did they go to the right address? Did they go targeting somebody? Did they target the wrong person? Did they target the right person? We don't know. They're all questions that go through us like every once a week at least. And you just can't answer them questions.
All the suspects, 3 men in camouflage, army-style clothing and black balaclavas, are believed to have escaped in a stolen car that was later found in Chapeltown. Earlier that day, a woman fitting this likeness had knocked on the door asking for someone called Michelle. Detectives believe she's key to the investigation.
Someone knows something. It's just that right bit of information that we need to get. And hopefully maybe one of the 4 people who went to that house that night, maybe some of them get remorse. You can only hope, you know what I mean, that they hand self in and we can get some closure.
What would it mean to you for that person to come forward with the information?
It'll mean we won't have to do things like this anymore, and just focus on his memory of who he was as a person, loving, kind, caring, full of life, wasn't he?
Yeah, we just want that bit of closure.
15 years on and still no answers. Martin and Jackie still hope for justice and just to know why their son's life was ended so soon. Adam Fowler, ITV News, Leeds.
And our thoughts go out to Adam and Jackie. Now, around a dozen homes had to be evacuated on a street in Rotherham this morning as a bomb disposal squad were called to a house. Officers carried out a raid on Treefield close in Wingfield and closed off the street. Explosive experts were called and a bomb disposal robot could be seen behind the cordon. South Yorkshire Police said residents were asked to leave as a precaution. A 41-year-old man has been arrested and is in custody. Hundreds lined the streets in Liversedge today for the funeral of 6-year-old Beau, the little girl with an infectious smile who's died of a rare form of cancer.
Before Beau died, her mother raised thousands of pounds to send Beau to America for vaccine trials for neuroblastoma. She even took her to Westminster last year to urge politicians to carry out trials here as well. But her daughter died before she could make the trip.
Today, those at the service paid tribute to the little girl. Helen Steele reports.
It was the day nobody wanted to come. But nobody could stay away. 6-year-old Beau had captured the hearts of her community and beyond as she battled a rare form of childhood cancer. Today, that community, the small village of Roberttown in West Yorkshire, came together in a blaze of colour. Children's messages lining the final route that Beau would take.
It's just incredible. The children were out in force last night doing all these wonderful chalkings on just about every surface that they could reach. There are banners up everywhere. They've taken Beau to their hearts, so I think it will help them not perhaps understand, but to appreciate that even in the midst of sadness there can be joy.
Airplane, the night sky, shining stars.
Beau herself found joy in everything. Her mother, Shirley Hepworth, today said she worried more about her classmates than herself.
I've got up here to share with you and all Beau's little 6-year-old friends who may be struggling with this. My peace, with the hope that you can find comfort I have. I love you, Beau, and through our love, laughter and happiness, you will forever be a part of us.
Beau's legacy will also continue through her gift to other children. Through fundraising, her family raised more than £650,000 for treatment in America. Last year, they took their campaign to make it available in this country to Parliament.
I would also like to extend my deep condolences to the family of brave and beautiful Beau, who also lost her life to neuroblastoma.
She died before she could have the treatment, but her money will now go to a children's cancer charity.
I think Beau would be really proud of this legacy, not only through the strength of the community spirit that she's generated through all the fundraising, but also the children that she'll go on to help now through the money that's been raised.
If Beau's plan for today was to help her friends find the joy, she did it.
I think she's up in heaven and she's still watching down at us, see what happens to us.
And what do you think she would have thought of today?
She would have thought of thank you everyone. I really loved you for doing this for me. I'm happy.
Gosh, heartbreaking story. You're watching Calendar, and still to come before the end of the programme. We look back at what's been a fantastic week for athletes for our part of the world at the Special Olympics in Berlin.
And the weather is turning much hotter and more humid as we head through this weekend. Could we see some thunderstorms to end the week? I'll have all the details coming up soon.
Now let's go up the road to Headingley, where the Leeds Rhinos are preparing to take on the Huddersfield Giants in a special Super League game dedicated to raising awareness of motor neurone disease.
This is the scene there now. 90 minutes before kick-off. We'll return there shortly. But first, the father of a man who graced that pitch so many times, the Leeds Rhinos legend Rob Burrow, is calling on the government to keep its promise on funding into MND research.
It pledged £50 million 2 years ago to help find a cure. Now the remaining £15 million left to be released could be made available for other conditions. Jeff Burrow has been speaking to Arif Ahmed about his frustrations in getting the funding.
Kevin Sinfield 7 in 7, the Rob Burrow Marathon, the Leeds 10K, and Ian Flack climbing Mount Snowdon. Just some of the epic fundraising challenges that have raised millions of pounds to help find a cure for motor neuron disease. After much campaigning, the government pledged £50 million into research in 2021. Rob's dad Jeff says delays into releasing all of the money is potentially delaying a cure by decades.
We need it now. There's so many breakthroughs on there that just need that extra push over the finishing line, and we've got some effective treatments. It's like Rugby used to say, you know, once you've scored a try, you know, you want to keep scoring, and you get it in, you know, and that's what we want to do. We want to keep scoring the points for the MND community, not for Rob, the M&D community, so we get there.
35 of that £50 million has now been released. The worry is the remaining £15 million that was promised exclusively for M&D research will be shared with other conditions.
Fancy having to apply along with other diseases, all of which, you know, want money for research, and you having to compete with other people that's ill from other diseases. That's not proper competition, surely. Bye, thank you. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
Rob and Jeff's local MP Yvette Cooper has been working closely with the Borough family to lobby the government into releasing the money.
When you've seen that, you know, Rob Burrow and his family are doing this incredible campaigning, and they've been doing amazing fundraising, but we really need the government to do its bit too, so that that critical research takes place. All of us want to see a proper breakthrough on MND.
In a statement, the Health Secretary Steve Barclay said, almost 3/4 of our pledged £50 million funding has been awarded to projects in the UK. We know we are not there yet, but we will find a cure, and we're doing everything we can to make it happen. If the Health Secretary was sat here with us, what would you say to them?
Oh, I'd love him to be sat here. I'm not sure what I'd say to him other than what I'm really saying now is, please, Mr Barclay, you said in September it was ring-fenced for MND, the 50 million. So why are they now having to apply along with other charities and other fundraisers for the money?
Jeff Burrow talking to Arif Ahmed, and Arif's now pitch-side at Headingley tonight. And Arif, the Burrow family will be there too shortly, won't they, as special guests, I think?
Yeah, that's right. Ian, the Burrow family will be here tonight as special guests of honour, and Rob's daughters, Macy and Maya, they'll be performing a special dance just before kick-off, and then Rob's son Jackson, who we'll remember back in 2020, Rob brought out on the pitch in that emotional walkout at his testimonial. Jackson will be bringing out the match ball ahead of kick-off. And there'll be plenty of people from the M&D community here tonight, including Rachel and Ian Flatt, who I'm pleased to say have joined me live here on Calendar. Rachel, I'll come to you first. How good does it have such events like this here at the Rhino?
Oh, it's fantastic. The awareness, the fundraising, just the community, bringing everybody together so that people can support us and hopefully get us closer to having that cure and those treatments that we really need.
And Ian, you've been out with your bucket so far earlier tonight. Is it full yet?
It's getting there. I think it's full of paper money.
But the people of Leeds are so generous when it comes to this, aren't they?
They are. And the rugby community is incredibly generous. The people of Leeds, we've seen this before, haven't we? The marathon here at Headingley so many times. They just come out for the M&D community. And it's beautiful. The generosity today. And actually so cheerful. You know, everybody's got a smile on their face. Everybody's ready for a chat. And they're digging deep and putting their hand in their pocket.
It's fantastic. And Ian, last year you completed a mammoth challenge climbing Mount Snowdon. You've got another mammoth challenge coming up in the next few weeks. Tell us about that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so on the 7th of July, 7/7, we're setting off across the Yorkshire Dales, doing our third 100-mile trek. So setting off on 7/7 at Pateley Bridge, and we're going to finish 10 days later at the Tan Hill Inn at the top of Swaledale, hopefully with a pint of Guinness.
I tell you what, you don't make it easy. Good luck to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Calendar. And I tell you what, anyone here from the M&D community won't give up until there's a cure.
Yeah, you're right there. That's absolutely right. Thanks very much indeed to Arif Ahmed. They're live at Headingley Stadium.
And good luck from us too to Ian Flatt there. Wonderful man, wonderful man. Well, the breaking news coming out of Glastonbury this evening is that the Arctic Monkeys will be taking to the stage later on. There had been fears that the Sheffield band might not make their headline slot on the Pyramid stage tonight. They cancelled a gig on Wednesday this week because frontman Alex Turner had acute laryngitis.
Well, this is how it's looking at Worthy Farm in Somerset this evening, and there are plenty of festivals planned for our region throughout the summer too. And they're being encouraged to do their bit for the environment. Last year, for instance, thousands of pounds worth of tents and sleeping bags were abandoned at the end of Leeds Festival.
Yes, and that waste, combined with the rest of the UK's festival rubbish, amounts to a whopping 25,000 tonnes per year. So what do festivals do to match the green ambitions of many of their ticket holders? Well, Nick Smith has been investigating.
Festival crowds can be some of the most eco-conscious among us, but despite the messages of environmentalism that many of these events portray, the fact remains that the average festival produces 500 tonnes of carbon dioxide emissions, with each attendee leaving an average of 3 kilograms of waste for each day they attend. It's an issue organisers are acutely aware of. The Deershed Festival takes place in Baldersby Park near Thirsk, and those behind the event say they try to minimise the footprint they leave.
So we won't use throwaway plastic, it's all single-use plastic, it's all proper plates, proper cups, and we deal with those aspects in that way by just reducing our plastic output. We run all of our generators on biodiesel, endeavouring to sort of lower our carbon footprint.
Recent years have seen a big reduction in single-use items. Many festivals now ban sales of plastic bottles, and Glastonbury, which is currently underway, won't permit disposable vapes on site this year. But these mini-cities of canvas can still pose major issues. A shocking 2/3 of festival goers leave their tents on sites around the country. Their components are difficult to recycle, so most end up in landfill.
Our members are doing a huge amount, working on programming which is encouraging audiences to talk about sustainability and how they can be that change. When you look at the breakdown of where our biggest carbon footprint is, over 70% of that comes from audience transport and travel. So really the main thing that festivals need to do is to drive home some key messages to make more sustainable ways of getting to the events, because that's the biggest contributor to carbon footprint.
Glastonbury Festival draws in hundreds of thousands from all corners of the country, and organisers try to incentivise them not to travel by car. Its Bike to Site scheme, for instance, rewards those using it, like Caroline Wood, with a nicer camping spot with showers.
The festival does have a huge impact on the traffic and the pollution levels around the site. If we can do just our little bit by cycling into the festival, it's just one more unnecessary car. Bike to Glasgow do make it very, very easy to drop your luggage, so you don't have to worry about how you're going to get your rucksack and your tent onto site, because they help you with that.
Those organising these huge events say they'll keep striving to eventually make them net zero. But the key to cutting the impact they have on our environment rests on how prepared festival goers are to leave the smallest possible footprint. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Now, they're already the best team in the country, but now Farsley Celtic Deaf Football Club will test themselves against the best Europe has to offer.
Yes, next week they'll be playing against teams from Paris, Istanbul and Athens in the Deaf Champions League. Quite something for a small village just outside of Leeds.
But before then, there's the small matter of the Disability Cup Deaf Final on live TV this weekend. Chris Dawkes has been to see how preparations are going.
One final training session ahead of the biggest week this club and these players have ever known. On Sunday, Farsley Celtic Deaf Football Club defend their national title at the home of English football, St George's Park, before jetting off to Poland the following day to compete in the Deaf Champions League for the very first time.
When we set up this club 6 years ago, we never thought we would get to this position so fast and become one of the best clubs in the UK. And now we're competing in Europe, in Poland for the Deaf Champions League. And then we have the final this Sunday. I can't believe how fast we've progressed, we've developed, and I'm really proud of this club. Really looking forward to it. We've been training hard, we've been getting involved in hearing league football games and tournaments and games. It's been really positive. We're confident we'll do well, and we believe as a team, and also the management as well, we all believe.
I didn't really have any sort of deaf friend, deaf family or anything, so I've always grew up in a hearing world.
Indy watched Farsley winning the National Cup on TV last year. It prompted his move to university in Leeds so he could join the team.
It's so surreal, honestly. Like, you know, exactly a year it's been since I saw it, and now I'm going to be playing in it. It's tremendous, you know, the opportunity to be on live TV, and also not just that, but just get some like deaf representation on TV, because before that I didn't think there was any, you know.
And that's the big prize in all this, raising the awareness of deaf football.
The profile's out there, people are aware of deaf football, the audience are watching, potentially maybe people out there who are deaf themselves, children who want to join in with deaf football and climb the ladder within deaf football. So they've got to keep pushing themselves and pushing that level higher and higher.
Now, to make all of this possible, Farsley have had to rely on the generosity of others. Leeds Trinity University have allowed them the use of their facilities to train, and they've also raised over £4,000 in charitable donations.
It's so incredible to see what they have achieved. Obviously, trying to defend in the final this weekend is amazing, and so yeah, amazing role models.
And the hope is, like Indy, others will be inspired to join a team and make new friends. And who knows, like this lot, they might one day be playing Champions League football. Chris Dawkes, ITV News, Leeds.
Well, we're staying with sport now, and they're in Europe next week. So we're going to end tonight's programme by hearing from the continent now, because all week we've been reporting from the Special Olympics, which have been taking place in Germany.
It's been a remarkable event, with many of our athletes who have intellectual disabilities showing they're at the top of the game when it comes to sport.
12 athletes from Yorkshire have been taking part in disciplines from hockey to swimming, table tennis to cycling. Niall Geit from Sheffield is among many regional winners. He returns home a silver medalist in the 25-kilometre cycling road race.
Just superb, yeah, and an experience that I'll never forget as well.
A brilliant result there for Niall, and our reporter Catherine Walker has been following our athletes' progress in Berlin all week. We caught up with her a little earlier for one final time.
It's been a fantastic week here in Berlin, watching our region's athletes perform on the world stage. There's been tears of laughter, tears of joy, and even tears of frustration. But it will be a week that everyone here remembers for the rest of their life. This is the most inclusive sporting event in the world, and it's been a privilege to be here to share their stories and their achievements with you. Here's some of our favourite bits from this week in Berlin.
I'm so excited, all my health I can finally beat them.
They've shut down the centre of Berlin for our athletes. That's what I'm talking about, inclusion.
I'm having so much fun. No words can explain how I'm feeling right now. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've been trying to be in this sport for ages, and yeah, I'm just so happy to be here.
I feel proud of myself, and I feel joyful to be here in Berlin.
Let me tell you about the story of my life.
Let's go, GB, let's go.
Thank you. Best Father's Day ever. Ever.
When I found out the results, I just burst into tears.
I'm gonna fess up now, I cried.
I feel like sports just touches thing inside a human being. People always say sports brings people together, and I wholeheartedly agree. And just to see people get brought together by sports, and to just see people get brought together in general, is just an amazing thing.
Ian, it's so uplifting just looking back at everything that's happened in this week at the Special Olympics. It's just brilliant, isn't it?
I know, and all of those athletes who've done our region really proud, they're going to have something to remember for the rest of their lives, aren't they?
Yeah,
Which
12
is
of them
absolutely
representing
fantastic.
our region out there in Berlin.
Now, look,
Wonderful.
let's just have a quick look back to Glastonbury now. There, look, a live shot. Look how sunny it is. Look how nice it is. Waiting for the Arctic monkeys to appear later.
Yeah, well, let's see if it's going to stay that way. Here's Becky Mitchell.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello there, a very good evening to you. There's plenty of sunshine to come this weekend as the weather turns hotter and a little more humid too. That heat and humidity will combine eventually on Sunday, perhaps to bring some thundery downpours and eventually some fresher air as we head into next week. The reason for the dry, hot and settled weather at first this weekend is this area of high pressure out towards the continent, keeping things rather settled at first. But eventually low pressure takes charge, driving this cold front in, and that could bring those thundery downpours on Sunday and eventually some fresher air and some light relief from the heat and humidity. For tonight, though, it is a rather sticky and uncomfortable night for sleeping. Clear skies for many of us, but the cloud will thicken across parts of the north to bring a few outbreaks of rain. Elsewhere, staying mostly dry, hot and humid. Temperatures not falling much lower than 16 or 17 degrees tonight in many of our towns and cities. That means a warm start to the day on a Saturday morning, fairly bright at first, a little bit of that cloud turning the sunshine hazy at times, but for most of us we will see plenty of sunny spells right the way through into the afternoon. Quite breezy at first in the morning, but those winds easing off into the afternoon, so really feeling quite humid by the middle part of the day with highs of 27 or 28. Looking ahead into Sunday then, still another hot, sunny and fairly humid day to come, but eventually this cold front will arrive from the west. That will bring some heavy showers for many of us, potentially some thundery downpours too, and eventually also some fresher air. So temperatures starting at around 28 degrees on Saturday, peaking around 30 on Sunday, and eventually back down to 19 for the start of the new week. I've got the pollen coming up next.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
The hot and humid weather this weekend will give rise to high or very high levels of grass pollen across the region. Where we see any heavy showers, that pollen may dip ever so slightly. And I'll catch you again soon. Take care.
Well, Laura, with weather like that, I'm going to invite Jay McDonald round to sing in my garden and have my own little festival. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite glad I'm not at Glastonbury and that I'm in Yorkshire instead, because I think it'll be boiling down there.
Have a lovely weekend, won't you? From all of us here, good night.
Good night.